All right, here we go. 3, 2. Hey, welcome back. My name is Captain James with A Latte Fun Fishing. And to my far right is Capt.Richard with R&R Saltwater Fishing. And in the center here, we've got Deen Ryan, or Ryan Deen, as he's better known. On Facebook, it's Deen Ryan. And now I'm sure you guys have seen him. You've probably seen his products. If you haven't already bought him and fished with him, you really should. But Deen has a local bait company, a local tackle shop, manufacturer, and it's RD Fishing Tackle in Pensacola, Florida.
Milton. I'm in Milton.
All right, then. I stand corrected. In Milton. Thanks for making me look like a dumbass, Dean.
No, I'm just helping. Just making sure you get the right information.
Ryan.
You're welcome.
Ryan
Deen.
I'll
All right,
I'll respond to either.
This is episode 4 of Coffee with the Captain. Today I'm here with my special guest, Captain Rich of R&R Saltwater Fishing.
Damn, man, my shirt says Richard.
And today I'm here with my special guest, Capt.Richard of R&R Saltwater Fishing.
What's up?
And Ryan Deen of RD Fishing Tackle of Milton, Florida.
What's going on?
It's good to see you guys. All right, that's enough of that. So,
You're going to have to start calling this beer with the captain or crown with the captain.
well, yeah.
There ain't no coffee involved in that.
Definitely not.
You know, we have to relax too. You know, we get a little bit of time off. So, cheers. So, Deen, I've got some questions for you. I see you brought me some soft plastic, and it's exactly what I was looking for. And you make custom soft plastics.
Right. I'll do custom requests. Right now I'm just working on just a lineup of colors for, soft plastics, for the bass guys, trick worms, creature baits, crawfish style baits, stuff like that. So realistically, right now I'm just working on what I'm going to have available. I don't want to have I'm not going to have all the bass stuff, and I'm not going to have all the saltwater stuff. All the stuff that I will have, make, and use will be products that I have caught fish on, or people that I know have been successful with these colors or styles, or say there's something that you want that's not on the market. Then I'll be happy to work with you and try to make something that you like and works for you. Maybe there's a pattern that should be reversed. For this bait, for example, you have the chartreuse on the top and the white on the bottom. Some guys may want the white on the top and the chartreuse on the bottom. If you want something like that switched around.
That would just be ridiculous because there's nothing like that in
Hey, sometimes
nature.
Those weird baits catch things.
Yes, they do. And I'm just going to mention this right now. I know Rich said something to me about this the other day. How many people we've seen rig these upside down.
Upside down, so they swim better.
And they do swim different. And my thought was always, that's just wrong. That's wrong. That's not the way the manufacturer designed it. I know there's a lot of research that goes in and testing, but at the same time, if it's working, then, maybe I need to try that. I need to flip it over.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice, and I didn't notice a difference in how many fish I was catching. But I will say that this particular color, and the reason I was really interested in it, I took a chartreuse and a white, and we fished them side by side. What is today? Friday? I believe it was last Sunday. And we caught 6 on the white and 8 on the yellow. So I was really after that chartreuse color, but I thought, man, how neat would that be if I could combine the two? I'm not sure that that's going to make any difference. I mean, we still had a pretty good day for being as windy as it was, and we didn't go very far. But that particular color just seemed to really pay off. So
Yeah, I like that.
I'm really excited about that. I'm
like
gonna go
that
throw one now.
Yeah. Let's stop the podcast. Go fishing.
I'm down. I'm down for that. We can do that. So, how long have you been making baits now here in Milton?
Soft plastics, I've just started doing that probably 3 months, 4 months, honestly.
Really?
It's soft plastics has been the newest thing that I've started doing with making baits and stuff. I originally started off pouring lead, making hex head jigs, which are real popular around here. There's spearhead jigs.
Yeah, I think I've actually got some of your hex head jigs in this tackle bag here. And that's originally how I found out about you. A buddy of mine gave me a jig and said that you had made it. And we caught some fish on it, and I thought, man, this is pretty neat. I need to get a few more of these. So if anybody is interested in soft plastics, jig heads,
and also some new flat fall jigs that are coming out.
Flat falls. I plan to do those probably end of February is when I plan to release those.
So what weights are you going to offer in the flat fall?
It'll be 2, 4, 6, and 8 ounce.
All custom colored or?
No, I'm gonna have a select, the select color options, the standard colors that you will find in the stores. Mm-hmm. But I will do custom requests because some guys they like certain colors to be a certain way, or maybe they want it flip flopped, like we were talking about with the soft plastics. Okay. So I can do just about anything you want on those.
You gonna rig them or let the customer rig them?
I will rig them, not unless the customer wants to rig their own, which I have nothing against that.
Sweet.
But I will rig them. They'll all be rigged with a Kevlar assist hooks. So they'll be up to 1,000-pound rating is what I'll be running on them. Okay. So they'll be stout.
So I see you got a couple different sizes here. So.
Yeah, those two there. That's the 2 and the 4 ounce that I brought with me.
Okay. These would be nice inshore snappers.
Yeah. Yeah, that would.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, how would you say, what's the best way to fish a flat fall jig like that?
There's actually multiple ways to fish those jigs. A lot of guys do what they call a slow pitch. It's actually becoming seems to be fairly popular. It's becoming popular. Slow pitching. Then there's speed jig, which is just a real fast, erratic motion.
Right.
That's the way I prefer to fish them.
That's how I grew up fishing.
I'm gonna try out the slow pitch this year, though. I tried it a couple times this past year, and I guess I just honestly wasn't using the right type of jigs, but.
The jig and the rod, and you've got a really good jigging rod too.
Mm-hmm.
Rod matters.
Yeah,
well, that
makes
all
a huge
buy
difference
for bottom fishing. Is all jigging rods because.
Well, now with the new PE line, mm-hmm. That's really made for that slow pitch jigging as well.
Yeah, I still like my Power Pro, so you can bleep that out because we're not sponsored by them.
Absolutely. Or maybe this would be a good time to talk a little bit about our sponsors. So tonight's program is brought to you by Power Pro. If you're listening.
Shimano Fishing.
And Pin, as you can see in the background here. Pin Reels.
That's going to be a lot of beeps.
There's going to be a lot of beeps. So, slow pitch, fast pitch, and then
just traditional up and down jigging.
Just up and down jigging.
Just bottom bouncing with them. Yeah, I've had pretty good luck, especially with the smaller jigs like these chrome color ones.
Now, see, I really want to drop one and see how it falls. I'm really
like
interested. Yeah, that's what I want to see.
They fall. That's what the keel on there is for, so make it waddle as it falls
Gotcha.
down. That's why they also, and I, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but from what I've researched and learned, that keel is important for the slow jigging method. So whenever you pull a slow pull and then you let it back down, it allows it to, do the side fall.
To actually flutter.
Now,
Yeah,
if
it
you're doing the
should come up
speed
pretty
jigging, it's
quick,
going
and
to be
then
all over,
and turn itself right, and then start.
Right,
flutter.
exactly.
Well,
Or doing this.
even for the speed jigging, you really want to make sure that you have the right jig. Otherwise, you get a couple pops on slack line, and that assist hook is now hooked on your leader.
Right, or wrapped around your main line or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can feel it if you use them enough. You can tell that, hey, that's fouled. I've got to reel up and fix that. But that's really a pain in the butt.
Right.
It's the one downfall.
A lot of times, man, if you're getting that happening, it's because you're using too light of a jig on the speed that you're jigging.
Correct.
So if you're wanting something like this, the 2 or 3 ounce,
Right.
you don't want to work it as fast as you can work a 7 or 9 ounce. So
Right, because the slack doesn't pick up on the fall. So
Yeah.
when it's falling, you don't.
yeah, you're
doesn't pick
sitting
up
there
that.
doing this, and
Well, it's still, and we had talked about this the other day, it's still, small pumps.
Mm-hmm.
You're still moving that rod tip. If you move the rod tip 2 or 3 feet, just that little bit from 0 to 45, that's 3 feet
oh yeah,
that you're moving that jig in the water column. And if it's fluttering back down, it really does mimic an injured bait fish.
Right.
So that's, again, I just want to take them out now and go fish.
Let's go.
I want to try them
It's
out.
only blowing like 25 miles an hour right now.
No, that's nothing.
Yeah, we're good.
Take the big boat.
It's like 6 to 8 foot in the Gulf. We're good.
Yeah, why not?
And take the John boat.
Yeah.
Bass tracker.
That'll have to be beeped as well.
Dasani.
Not currently sponsored by Bass Tracker, but Bass Tracker.
Key Largo boats.
I might as well mention my own, Robalo.
Right? Yeah,
So-
Key Largo's listening. I want the new 3000.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
I'll keep my mouth shut on those boats.
Man, I did just see some nice, what was I looking at? Is it a Mako? I think it might have been a Mako. It was a 30.
This is going to be nothing but
32
beeps.
foot.
You know that, right?
Yeah. That's all right.
Cape Horn. I'll take
Now,
a,
Cape
I'll take
Horn
a 32
is
XS.
manufactured right here in town,
in
right?
Milton.
In Milton.
Yep. In East Milton. Yeah, I've been there.
So we need to take a tour and
Yeah,
the camera and do a little tour.
it's pretty cool.
I would take my charters out on a Cape Horn if they wanted to sponsor us. Again, if anyone's listening from Milton, I'm more than happy to take a Cape Horn out instead of my Robalo.
Yeah, me too.
I'd much rather have a Cape Horn.
Local.
What else do we have? We've got the soft plastic swim bait.
You brought a whole
Now, this
bag
is
of jigs
interesting since I've got a couple different sizes here. Just to look at the tail. I'm not sure how that's picking up on the camera, but you can see the difference, and they really do swim different. Mm-hmm. Where that shorter tail has a real tight wobble.
Oh,
That
that
longer tail really makes some noise going through the water. And I think that was really what was working for me. Not so much maybe the color, but that tail, having that wobble, how much it was moving in that dirty, stained water that I was fishing. And literally every cast produced a fish. And it just so happens I'm in a place where the fish were.
Right.
But the bait really worked. And there's something about tricking a fish into biting a piece of plastic.
Oh, I love it.
That is, it's a thrill every single time. And it doesn't matter what kind of fish you're catching. If you're throwing to a cobia, if you're throwing to a tuna or bonita, mahi, doesn't make a difference. A jack in the bayou, it's still exciting that you trick them into thinking that was live bait.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100% on that because that's a big argument that, there's two different kinds of anglers, I think, and everybody has their own opinion. But, there's your anglers that like to get their live bait, sit, and enjoy their time. Then you have the anglers that like to go out and get the job done, catch the fish, have a good time, and be quick with it, And I'm not saying that lures are always going to produce every single time because, granted, I mean, there's days that I've gone out with and thrown basically the kitchen sink at them and nothing. And then you can go out the next day and throw everything, and they'll hit everything that you've thrown. So
That just seems to be fishing in general. A lot of the times.
yeah,
I mean, if it's hot, it's hot. If it's not, it's not.
right.
Well, I really like live bait. That's the natural forage, sometimes presented in an unnatural manner, seems to get them to strike. This is something that's always been fascinating to me, and the plastic baits or lures just kind of really sheds light on how that injured bait fish acts in the wild, right, or in the water. But if you think about it, on any given day, on any piece of structure, there are multiple species that you will never catch.
Oh, yeah.
There's tons of fish holding tight to this structure, and they're all swimming together in perfect harmony, in bliss. And there's a shark and a barracuda off in a distance. And if one of those fish acts odd in any way, they attack it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's over. So, we do the same thing when you butterfly a mullet, when you, I don't want to say, step on a croaker head, but, if you've got a bait that's acting weird,
Trimming the
or
fins
doing
on the
something
pinfish.
trimming the fins so it swims funny, it creates that reaction strike that we basically do the same thing with the soft plastic, is create that reaction strike.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's really what we're after. And they can't help themselves but to attack that bait.
Right.
It's
Reaction bite.
yeah, that's what it is. So what else did you bring today? You've got
Well, I brought some crabs.
and these are new.
Yeah, these are new as well. I just got the mold, so still playing with it, still seeing what I can make of it. But I
And that's really good color too.
Yeah,
I like that. That's really natural.
I tried to go for a blue crab here, but when I first did the twin injection, it didn't cooperate with me because to do a two-tone, I had to have a dual injector, or I could just hand pour half and half, but that takes way too long. This is a quicker way, just doing a dual injection, but that crab,
That looks
It looks
like
nice
the blue
and solid.
crab out of my
And the way I think will be the best way to rig these is the sheephead jigs. I know a lot of people have been seeing them. If you haven't, go look them up. There's multiple people that make them. I make them as well. But the sheephead jigs, I think rigging it just like as if you were going to run a filler crab right through the backside and just on a sheephead jig and just bouncing across the bottom would be, I don't know,
ideal.
I feel like that'd be killer for a redfish or something on the grass flats, maybe, like over in some of the flats that we have here, just bouncing us through those grass. I think that would be just
it's a really good looking bait.
It really is. And that really, the colors really do mimic the blue crab. That's actually a really good bait.
I got to see how these swim in the water because these things are moving so well. I imagine that the whole thing would be moving. And
Yeah, that's got to be.
yeah.
I don't know if you can see that on the camera. Look at those pinchers move and wiggle. That's really got to draw some attention.
Yeah, and another thing that I haven't done it with these, but it is the plan. I'm going to make it where the pinchers are with a different type of plastic where they'll float. So when the bait's sitting on the bottom, the pinchers will raise up, so it'll look like he's trying to defend himself from a predatory fish or whatever.
that'd be cool.
Be something different,
Yeah.
That is pretty neat.
Probably help keep the bait off the bottom just a little bit too, so you get a little better presentation.
And that too, I could also, do the whole bait in a float plastic, so the whole bait itself would float. So once you did have it on one of those,
like a Carolina rig. So that's the crab. We saw the butterfly jigs. We talked a little bit about the swim bait. Now, what's the actual name on this? Do you have a name for this?
I don't. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't really put it out there yet. It's because, you have to be careful with what you name and plastics that you're making, especially when you're doing custom stuff, because you don't want to get in trouble for any kind of copyright or anything like that. So
this is what I want to talk about. This swing head jig.
Oh, that thing is killer. Me, I love those things. I didn't even really, be honest with you, I never really messed with those until recently, because a lot of folks will notice that the head part is the same thing that you'll see on the sheephead jigs.
Right.
So it's the same jig. It's just this is a very popular way that the bass anglers like to rig, a weighted weedless versus doing a weighted bottom hook. So they can use these for punching through pads or hydrillos and stuff like that. Now, I don't know everything about bass fishing. I just really started picking up bass fishing this year. I've been with a buddy a lot of the trips that I've been doing has been with a buddy of mine who knows the rivers since, he was a little kid. He's been running the rivers forever. So I've been blessed with that too. He's shown the good spots.
But everybody knows, and I think you guys would agree, that bass fishermen are really the best fishermen. Oh, my God.
Tough crowd.
Well, I think we all grew up, started freshwater fishing, right? Did you not? Or have you always saltwater fished?
I started off saltwater fishing.
I grew up in Guam, so Guam, Bermuda.
They have fish there, right?
Yeah, but you don't have a lot of ponds there that hold fish. I mean, we got a lake in Guam that has peacock bass, but you hardly ever get to go fishing there. Or back then, hardly ever got to go fishing. I'm not sure about now.
Well, we didn't have peacock bass in the Midwest, but I didn't have saltwater either.
Yeah.
So I grew up with,
trout.
Bass,
pike.
trout. Yeah. Well, not as many pike.
Yeah.
You got to go a little further north. But we did, and we used to travel around the country and actually outside of the country. We would go to Canada to go fish for walleye and pike, and they get huge.
Wow.
So that's a lot of fun. But there's something about saltwater fishing. The closest thing that I had was fish in the Mississippi for catfish. Mm-hmm. And the best thing about it is, you could go catch a 50-pound blue was pretty common. But you're fighting that 3-mile-an-hour current. Mm-hmm. So it really put up a fight, When the first time I went saltwater fishing, I caught a pinfish, and it bent my rod.
Yeah.
And the fish were a lot stronger, and it was really, I was hooked immediately. It didn't have to be a trophy fish to have that same feel and fight as your average saltwater fish. And then I look back and I laugh and I make fun of people who bass fish. I get the strategy, I really do. But anyone who uses 50-pound braid to catch a 4-pound fish, and I get it. If you're punching through lily pads and stuff like that, I understand. I get it. But at the same time, it's still funny.
Yeah.
And here we are.
They only got like 100 yards on their reel.
Right. So,
And they'll never see the bottom of this pool.
Yeah, and they'll never see the bottom of this pool. No.
And the drag's locked.
Yeah.
Just yoking them out of the pads.
So there's that.
Well, shoot, when I was up in Colorado, we didn't have any fish that really fought there. So I got to a point where I was buying 2-pound test line and fighting rainbow trout and bass, because I was just like, man, I can't catch anything that's challenging like it was down in Florida. what am I going to do? You know, what's the next step? And it was dropped down from 10-pound test down to 6-pound, down to 4-pound, down to 2-pound. And then I was like, man, I'm going to take up fly fishing, which that's something you like to do.
Oh, yeah.
So really, I've never fly fished.
Really?
Never fly fished.
I haven't fly fished
picked
since
up
I
a
left.
fly rod one time, and I was watching a guy, and I thought I could do that.
Yeah,
And I went, nope, not for me. I better go practice before I get out here and stand next to somebody who actually knows what they're doing. It really is an art.
Oh, yeah.
It's
And I
fun.
can see how progressively, especially if you like fishing the flats,
Right.
I can see where sight casting with the fly has got to be, just an awesome feeling.
Oh, yeah. That's something I enjoy personally. If I can take the fly rod with me, I'm gonna take the fly rod with me, regardless. And that doesn't matter if I'm inshore or offshore.
Yeah, I have been on a boat where they were throwing flies to tuna, and that was something to see.
Oh yeah, that's a adrenaline rush right there.
Me, I'm looking at it going, that's just insane. I've got my spinner rod, and I'm pitching to them, but. Yeah, to catch a tuna on a fly, and they were small blackfin, they're little footballs. But still, yeah, that was pretty exciting. I didn't see anyone land a fish, although one guy did hook up, but I didn't get to see anybody land a fish on that fly rod. But that would have really been something.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, they had to be running a heavier weight reel too, for sure.
Yeah, they were massive for
Probably running 12s or 13 weights. Which are it's a big reel.
Yeah.
I'm looking for like a 8 or 9 right now. So
8 or 9, that's perfect for
bonefish.
Bonefish,
Pensacola.
redfish. That exactly.
Well, yeah, we got flats. Why not?
I mean,
they had their schools have come through here, and there has been people. I've seen a guy catch a net full out at Fort Pickens.
yeah.
I actually saw that too. That was kind of funny. And I was joking about catching them here in Pensacola. I meant, hey, let's run down south and
Yeah. I'm game.
do a little fishing. But Biscayne Bay.
Yeah. After snapper season, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm looking at permit.
Yeah.
Permit is fun.
Well, I caught my first permit last year, so that was pretty cool, especially here. We don't get permit often,
Right.
and the size on them is just not there if we get them. But last year, I think I got one on a charter that was like 18 to 20 inches. I don't remember the exact size, but it was pretty good permit for here.
Well, and I haven't fished here all my life, but in the last year and a half, I've seen, and whether it was on my boat or on other people's boat, some different species come up that we don't normally get in this area.
Yeah.
But even some African pompano, our little Florida pompano are delicious. I love to catch them on a light tackle. They're a good fight. It's fun. But the African pompano, and even ours wasn't as big as I've seen them on the East Coast, but we're getting fish like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what's going on with our fishery, but we're seeing some fish that I've been told they're not here.
Snook.
But snook.
Yeah. There's been a couple snook caught, a couple bonefish.
Couple common snook.
We had a pretty good tarpon hookup this year. Wasn't able to land it. Boat ran over our line.
That's still my problem. I got to land
spooled us. But that was pretty exciting, trolling a mullet right there at 3 Mile Bridge.
Oh, nice.
And it jumped and took off. It was right at sunset, too. It was just absolutely beautiful. It was a perfect time to fish. And I run out in front of the boat, and I'm trying to wave this guy off and let him know we've got a line out front, and this tarpon is just gone. He's moving.
You're not stopping him.
And he jumped a second time, and it was a charter trip, and my mate actually had the rod in his hand, trying to hand it off to the customer, and the boat just totally ignored us, put the hammer down and took off, ran over the line, and just literally stripped a brand new spool spooled up with braid. Just took it all. There goes $40. You know?
But I bet his motor's not very happy.
Oh no.
He got new seals. But you hooked up your buddy with his first tarpon this year, didn't you?
Yeah, my buddy Nathan, I put him on a tarpon. Man, that's
On a kayak.
yeah, that's
Now that's
the way
something.
to do it.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it, in my opinion. I notice a lot of guys that do it from the piers or chase them down on the boats and stuff like that. And there are guys that do chase them, you know, in the kayaks as well. And we were just out there at the Portofino Reef, and we were out there actually fishing a tournament at the time. And and my buddy, he thought that he had cobia under him. Well, those cobia turned into tarpon.
Wow.
And they started rolling in front of me, and when I realized what they were, he immediately asked me what should I throw, because he hadn't caught any tarpon before. He's never really targeted them. I said, get something live, get something shiny, you know, just get something in front of them. Get it in front of their nose. They're lazy feeding fish. They want it in their face. So he was able to rig up I think he had a cigar minnow or something at the time. It may have been an LY or something. And he flipped it out there, and as soon as he flipped it, you see the fish roll, and it was game on. He did it on which I don't want to say I was surprised, but I was definitely impressed with it. And he did it with a Slammer 3500 or 4500.
Yeah.
That's an inshore reel, typically for most guys. I mean,
Wow.
heck, back home, you know, or down South Florida, whenever we're fishing for snook, that's what we're using as a 45, because you're pulling away from docks and stuff like that. So to see an 80, 90-pound tarpon landed on that same style of reel was pretty impressive.
Just being in a kayak, I can imagine it pulled the kayak around.
Oh yeah, you're in for a ride. you go where the fish goes. There is no control, and that was the biggest thing. Is he wasn't used to it. He didn't know what to expect from the fish, and you know, every time he'd get close, he'd say, "Oh, I'm about to land," and no, you're not. No, you're not. So you're not fixing to land that fish. And you know, as soon as he'd make the comment, "Oh, I'm about to grab it," he'd roll and gulp some more air, and he'd take off again.
Yeah.
Because you know they can air breathe as well.
How long did it take to land that tarpon?
I think it was 30, 45 minutes, something like that.
Well, that's not bad then.
Yeah, it wasn't horrible.
Of course, I guess maybe the tarpon was wore out too, having to pull that kayak around.
Right. And that was
a little extra drag there.
And that was the other thing is once we did finally, so we grabbed him by the lips and because we had to revive him because the fight took so long. Those fish are not hardy at all. Because they're going to fight until the death, basically.
Right.
So we got the fish to the boat, and that fish was definitely beat. So it took us a little bit of time to revive the fish. Once we revived it, she swam off, and he was happy, to say the least.
I bet. His first tarpon on a kayak on light tackle.
Yeah,
That's,
exactly.
That's
pretty
an
good.
accomplishment.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That really does say something about the fisherman.
Right.
You know, regardless of the size of the fish, it could have been a 30-pounder.
Right.
But still to land it, number one, two, on that light tackle.
Right.
And I'm assuming you were coaching him a little bit.
Yeah, I was I was behind him the whole time, giving advice, telling him what and what not to do, because, like I said, he had never caught any tarpon. And Nathan, he's a really good fisherman. I mean, he's a very accomplished guy. So when I got to put him on that fish, that was a big deal for me. I mean, even though I didn't catch the fish, I just felt good because somebody that's already an accomplished angler, and then I helped him get onto a fish that he's never caught, was like, oh, okay, cool.
That's the reason, part of the reason I wanted to get my captain's license.
Yep.
If it's caught on my boat, I'm just as excited, especially if it's your first fish or a personal best.
Right.
And it's caught on my boat. I'm just excited for you, as excited as if I caught it myself. After you catch a few different species and a few hundred of each species, you start to look at the fish a little different. Yeah, well, now what? You know, what can I do now? It's lighten the line, lighten the tackle.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Catch that same fish on lighter tackle or lighter line. And it starts to, that becomes the challenge. But if you can teach someone how to catch a fish and show them techniques that work, and I've always said I don't claim to know anything special, just years of fishing. This is what works for me.
Right.
And I occasionally lose fish. So I'm not perfect either, but I really study what caused the fish to break off. What failed? Was it a knot? Was it the line? Was it was it something that I did? How can I make that better for the next time? So I do that with every single fish. And for years I recorded everything. I kept track of weather patterns and, why did the fish bite today when they wouldn't bite yesterday on the same bait? What changed? And look at those patterns and then try to pass that along to the customers, maybe not in that much detail. I just give them the right rod, the right, right tackle, the right bait, and put them on the fish.
You put them on the spot, and it's their job to catch them.
Pretty much. But as a captain, you want to make sure that they're catching something.
Right.
I mean, they're paying for this trip, so I want to make sure they're having a good time. They're enjoying themselves. So it's a lot of pressure for a captain. It is.
Oh, yeah. I could only imagine.
So you're getting into, now that we got totally sidetracked there, so you're getting into the soft plastics for the bass guys.
Bass and salt. The bass is more so because, like I said, I made friends with a guy that fishes the Escambia River really, really heavily, and that's all he does is bass fish. He's really, really good bass angler. He fishes up on North Escambia. You guys have probably seen him post stuff, James. But he's the one that I go to for all my color figurations for freshwater because, like I said, I don't know much about freshwater, so any knowledge that I can take from somebody that actually does know the freshwater side of the sport, then I'm all for it. I'm all ears. I want to hear it. That's reason why I have a lime green worm, because I didn't have nobody was telling me anything, so I took this to him and I said, "Hey man, what do you think of that?" And he goes, "What are you gonna do with that?" I don't know. You tell me.
Catch fish.
Exactly. And
that just makes me want to take it out and throw it though.
Yeah.
Right.
The Mountain Dew worm.
Or you just cut it here, and then you got what is that called?
Oh,
little
Ned
grub.
rigs.
Yeah, the Ned rig.
Yeah, I got a couple of those. I got 2 different style of Ned rig molds now, so I might start playing around with it. It's more or less the Ned rig is something I got for a mentor of mine that's been helping me with a lot of different lure making, getting some of this stuff started. So that's the reason why some of the molds that I have are not even molds that I probably won't even use for myself. It's more or less for him. He wants certain things because he goes out of state and goes up north and goes fishing for I could be calling this the wrong kind of fish because I don't know much about freshwater, but I think it was a red perch or a perch.
Yellow perch.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yellow perch, variety of panfish, and he's got a couple of other different species of freshwater fish that I don't know too much about, but he says that they like those little Ned rigs, and he seems to do really well with them. So he asked me, he said, "If I buy the mold, will you make them?" Sure. Why not?
I still have a ton of freshwater stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't used it in years, but
probably got like $100 worth of salmon eggs.
Yeah.
From Colorado.
Going trout fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually found out about the salmon eggs in Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
I was making a trip to Little Rock, and I was driving by. It started out to be a little stream, and it kept getting wider and bigger and bigger. And I saw a few signs, and it was just a small river, but the part I was at was really small, and there were people fishing all along. So I stopped at a Walmart and bought a cheap little trout rod.
Yeah.
and went down and thought, well, I'll just stop and throw and see what these guys are catching. And I noticed there were some people on a bridge, and they were catching fish. So I sat there and I threw a couple lures, and I could see trout, and just clear. The water was crystal clear, and they wouldn't even look twice. If they did, it was just because I was spooking the fish. Mm-hmm. And so I go up to the bridge and I ask them, I said, hey, I noticed you guys have a stringer full of fish. How are you catching these fish? And they said, salmon eggs. So they give me some and a hook. So I'm throwing like bass lures at these trout. I had no idea. And so I float them salmon eggs down, and sure enough, they work. That's a trick for those little trout, little brown trout and rainbow trout. They were catching out of this little creek.
I like the rainbow
river.
Trout. Yeah, that's good eating. So, but it was, man, I'll tell you what, you catch 100 of them, and you're just like, all right, it's another rainbow trout,
Right.
So here you catch, a couple snappers, and you're like, oh, okay. So you can catch like a 3-pound snapper, and it's going to fight just as good as that 3-pound rainbow trout did, or better.
Yeah.
Take you a little longer to get in.
I think that, like I said earlier, I think the saltwater fish just fight harder.
Yeah.
A 3-pound fish is like a 10-pound bass.
Right.
That's
never
just
caught
what
a
it feels
10-pound bass. I think my biggest one's like 4 pounds.
That's something to do. It really is. If you catch a double-digit bass, you really feel like you've accomplished something.
Well, they say go down to Lake Okeechobee.
But still,
that big bass.
Still, it's funny. I've got buddies that make fun of me for sheep's head fishing.
Yeah.
It took a big run. What'd that do? About 20 feet.
Yeah. Ran about 8 feet.
Ran about 8 feet. But 4 of that feet was around the piling, and now you're fighting the oysters on the and the barnacles on the piling. Right. So there's a whole lot of finesse in pulling those sheep's head in. It's just like, throwing the soft plastic, tricking the fish into biting that hook, getting a good hook set, and then being able to get it away from the structure.
Yeah.
That's the fun part. And they're delicious to eat.
Yeah. Well, see, with Deen, man, he, I got a couple of jigs, sheephead jigs from somebody else who makes them locally. And the hooks that were on them were just not very good quality. So I saw Deen was making them, and I made a comment, and I was like, "Hey, man, throw some better hooks on them. If you're gonna make them, throw some better hooks on them." So you gave me a couple dozen of the hooks, the jigs, man, and they're doing really well. I mean, it's got nice sturdy hooks on them. The points stay sharp. They're working really well. I've caught black drum, 25, 30-pound black drum on them, redfish. I've caught sheephead on them. We've even caught a couple spadefish on them. So, I mean, they're actually
nice.
They're working.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's the first I heard for that.
Yeah. I don't take too many pictures, though. So that's my problem. You'll look at my Facebook page and, my business page, and I haven't posted anything since, I guess, the last snapper season, really. But I don't take many pictures. I'm not
not photogenic.
Look at me, Now, if I catch another big tile fish, it'll be on there.
I will say this. I will take pictures of some of the crazy stuff that I catch. And you'll notice, I think my profile pic is a bluefish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like a running joke. I told the guy that was on the boat with me, I said, get a picture of me with this bluefish. And he's laughing so hard he could barely take the picture. So I'm literally just smiling absolutely as big as I can. And I'm holding it out, right up to the camera, right up to the lens. As far, I said, check it out, sporting the bluefish. So that's, it's still fun. It's still fishing. That's what makes the day. It's the whole experience, no matter what time you leave. If you get up early in the morning and you grab a sandwich and a cup of coffee, and you get out and you fuel up the boat and you get the boat ready and everything's iced down and you head out. All of that is part of that experience of fishing that day. So to me, that's part of the fun. And it's just enjoyable. It doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to work and you're punching a clock, or you go sit in an office for, 8 to 10 hours behind a computer, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I could make a living just strictly fishing or fishing related things, even stuff like this, just being around the fishing industry, but being, like the baits, just being around people in the fishing industry who have that similar obsession with fishing and everything fishing related.
Oh yeah.
So, and final thought on that, probably not a final thought, but another thought is the kayak fishermen. Man, I give them a lot of props. Yeah. I never really thought I wanted to fish from a kayak. That seems like a lot of work.
Oh, it's
That's
fun.
really hard. But I will say this, they've really got it dialed in. These guys that are fishing tournaments, to be able to get on fish, and we were talking about this the other day. Yep. I get in my boat and go to a spot, and I'm there, and I drop a bait, or I look at my electronics, and I've got some high-dollar electronics. I know you do too. And I look at the electronics, I'm like, I'm not seeing anything interesting. I'm there 2 minutes, and I move on to the next spot, 5 miles away, 6 miles away, 40 miles away.
You ain't doing that.
I'm in a boat. I'll be there in 20 minutes. You're not doing that in a kayak. So you really have to plan out your day. Although we do, we really do plan out the day, direction of the wind, the current, we take all that stuff into consideration. But on a kayak, you really have to be dialed in to what the fishery's doing, where you're going to put in, where you're going to launch from, so you can get to the spot that you really want to fish. So, there's that. And if the fish aren't biting, at least if they're not biting this, you have to be able to figure out, okay, what can I do, to convince that fish? If you're on the flats and you can see them, what is it? A lighter hook, a lighter leader, a different color, what's gonna cause that fish to strike?
Right.
So
kayak fishing, that's really an art form.
You're not moving around as much as we are.
No.
I mean, you're moving. You just ain't moving as far.
No. With kayak fishing, you really learn your areas more. I feel you learn your areas better than you do in a boat. Because like you said, in a boat, you fish it for a few minutes, you're done. You move to another spot. A kayak, we drop our kayak, we're going to fish that spot for at least 2 hours. Because, you unload everything out of your car, put everything off the kayak, put everything on the kayak.
Tote that sucker down in the water.
Exactly.
2 hours, I'm back home cleaning fish.
Yeah.
And I've got spots that, I can jump around to, too. It's almost like cheating, but there's spots you can go to you just know are holding fish.
Right.
And, especially on a charter, I want to make sure the customer's catching fish. Doesn't matter what they're catching. Our seasons are so short here. If it's snapper season, and this honestly just happened to me. This last snapper season, the last day of snapper season, we were catching Spanish and kings. And so, okay, let's go grab our snappers. Literally pulled up to the first buoy and dropped on it. Caught our 4 snapper. I had 2 people on the boat, so we caught our limit. So, okay, now let's go back to catching something else. It took 15 minutes to land the 4 fish.
Yeah.
And we had 4 keeper, nice size snapper, 12, 13 pound snapper. So
yeah, if you're getting a bite like that, you better know how to catch other fish.
I still have to kill 4 hours. Yeah. They paid for a full day trip, let's go back to where those Spanish and kings were running, Yeah. So made for a good trip. It was a good day. Had a lot of fun, a lot of first. So, it was still a good trip, but there's a lot of days like that. where you can go out and catch your limit real quick, or nothing's in season.
Yeah.
And you're limited on what you can catch. Right now, the big thing for me is trying to catch a slot size red. Because I can catch bulls all day long. But catching one that's in the slot is harder to do with, fishing from my boat, because I can't get in skinny water.
Right.
Well, I can, but the boat doesn't like it. I've tried. Yeah, I've tried.
So
it didn't like it.
Living in Milton, you fish like let's say Escambia area, Escambia Bay, Archie Glover area.
I fish all of that. I fish from top half of Blackwater on the east side, and then top half of Escambia. So all of that area from top of Blackwater and Escambia down, I'm fishing.
You ever fish Florida town off your kayak?
No.
No? I'm going to have to take you over there one day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's like this deep.
Yeah, I know.
That's why I haven't been over there in the kayak.
I can't go in my boat. I got a John boat that I usually, when it was working, I would take it out there. And it's pretty good fishing in Florida town, but you got to go a little away from the ramp. You get about a mile away from the ramp, and then it's deep enough where you can actually do stuff.
Move around.
Yeah.
Function. Mm-hmm. Not walking in ankle deep water.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually funny. Somebody was just telling me about some bridge fishing, and I was kind of making fun of them. When you get to a bridge or a pier, everybody runs out to the end.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to catch bait, the bait's along the shore in the shallow water, usually. That's where we're throwing a cast net, right?
Yeah.
So, for instance, for us in this area where we live in Pensacola, if you were to go to, say, Fort Pickens and walk down next to the pier on the beach, there's always mullet. There's always, bait right up close, feeding on plankton that gets pushed to the shore, depending on which direction the wind's blowing. So that area gets overlooked, that first third of the ramp or pier. Same thing with the shallow water. It gets overlooked a lot because it's so shallow. But I would be willing to say that I haven't caught a sheep's head in over 9 foot of water.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. That's not where I fish for 'em.
Yeah.
It's always 7 to 9 feet, somewhere around there.
Yeah. I mean.
And actually, even shallower. I've caught them in shallower water.
I've caught them in shallower. I've caught them in deeper. It just depends on where they're at, the time of year, how far into the migration you would call it. If they're in the rivers.
I only fish for sheep's head in the winter anyway.
Yeah.
Just because I can't. Nothing else is
like
legal
right
to
now,
keep.
Well, like a month
month
ago when they were running through, you can catch them in 4 to 10 feet of water.
Right, and we did.
In March, we're going to catch them in 20 to 30 foot of water.
That's true.
I mean, it's going to be like different times of the year is going to be dependent on where you're fishing for them. Certain times are going to hold the sheep's head a little better than they will, especially late season.
But that's also true of all fish.
Yeah.
Different times of year, you're going to find them in different depths of water.
Oh, yeah.
That's why you see all the reds and the trouts pushing up into Simpson River area or, upper Blackwater River area. You see all, this time of the year is the time of the year to be chasing trout and reds in the river. I mean, you'll hear a lot of people saying if you're near a river system, go fish the river system because there's redfish, there's trout. For us, we have the hybrid and the striped bass that come down from Escambia that come down into the Simpson, and then the redfish are coming up. So you get both species fishing in that area.
And I know you've been catching the hybrids, Rich. I haven't even fished for them this year.
Yeah.
Not really.
Well, I've been catching them when we were sheep's head fishing.
Really?
Yeah.
In the same area, yeah.
Same spot, just tossing out jigs, and I got a buddy. He picked up like 4 one day, like right off the bat. So,
that makes for a good trip.
Yeah, I caught a couple of them this year, or last year, if you want to be technical.
Right.
Couple last year on flukes, just like a little jerk shad fluke kind of deal. And me and my buddy, in one day, we were having a horrible day, and we were fishing all around, the Simpson River area and stuff like that, and we both managed to get
That's
even
a nice
20s.
box.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh yeah, variety.
Yeah, yeah, we got everything that day. Bunch of sheephead, stripers, redfish, or hybrids, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Well, there's a difference.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not a freshwater guy, so it's kind of picking those up when we're fishing for saltwater species is exciting.
It's a bonus. Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, I didn't know they got the broken lines or hybrids or whatever the way their heads are shaped. You can tell if they're stripers or hybrids. I'm not very versed into the freshwater fish. I can pick out a speck or a crappie, whatever you want to call them here, bass, flounder. Yeah, I mean, I can pick out the fish that I've caught before.
The ones you can keep and eat.
Yeah, but if it's got stripes to me in freshwater, it's a striper.
Yeah.
So, and I got hounded on that one. I was like, yeah, we caught a couple stripers today, and I had a couple of guys go, oh no, you caught hybrids. I mean, it's got stripes, dude.
It's close enough.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in a way, it does matter though, because there's limits for those two species. So I mean,
yeah, no, I made sure when we caught them that I looked it up and made sure that what we were catching.
I happened to see a young guy the other day on the fishing pier. Got a sheep's head, and he holds it up, and I said, "That's a juvenile black drum."
Oh, jeez.
But it's got stripes. Yeah, it's a juvenile black drum. Says, it got teeth? He looks at it and goes, I think it's the drum. I said, yeah, I think it is.
It's got whiskers.
It's got whiskers. So that's funny. Everybody has different names, I noticed, too, for some of these species. So, maybe I was calling it by the wrong name. Mm-hmm. But as far as the hybrids go, I've always said striper, too. I know there's a difference. Yeah. I know what the two look like. I've seen them both. I've just always said striper.
Mm-hmm.
But technically, I mean, it's wrong. It is a hybrid.
Stripe, I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are.
The hybrids got multiple names too. It just really depends on the region where you're from, because there's some guys that call them Whipple.
Anyway, if people want to get a hold of you, do you have a website?
Yeah, I do have a website, and you can contact me through my email. The website is rdfishingtackle.com. The email address to email me directly is rdfishingtackle28@gmail.com. And if you want to give me a call, you're welcome to give me a call, but please only call me between 9 and 5. Do not call me at midnight with a lure idea, please. I can't beg you enough.
I only did that once.
I'm going to call you tonight at like 2 in the morning.
But you can call my business line. It's 850-417-0543. And like I said, just call me between 9 and 5. And please not at late at night. Please.
And Rich, if people want to get a hold of you?
850-889-6589. R&R Saltwater Fishing.
And for myself, you can reach me at 850-377-3777. Links for the website and for Deen's fishing tackle and for R&R Saltwater Charters will be in the description of the video.
There you go.
Please make sure you like and subscribe.
Saltwater fishing,
Oh,
buddy.
my God.
Jeebus.
Got to do that.
Yeah, we're going to fix you.
Wow.
We're going to fix this.
Yes. So if you want to get a hold of any of us, links will be in the description, down in the little doobly-doo.
Doobly-doo.
Yeah. I need another beer.
Me too.
All right.
I haven't
I'm out.
had one yet. Let's do it.
And as always, I've been Captain James, hoping you have a latte fun fishing. Peace. I'm out.